maybe what I'll do to kick off is thanks Rob for joining me on this bushwalk, my Quality Bushwalks.
Yeah.
Um, I wanted to do these convos because I think, so we're both dads, and I found as a parent and as a creative parent or entrepreneurial parents, like parenting already can be an isolating experience. And then I think coupled with that, as you sort of working for yourself in a creative or entrepreneurial way, often that experience can be isolating depending on if how you're operating or who you're working with. But I think sometimes you just sort of like lost in your own thoughts or in your own ideas or the day to day.
Yep.
So I was very much like, it'd be nice to sort of take a moment as dads to like better connect with each other and share ideas, talk about life, talk about the kids, and sort of like learn from each other. So that's where I'm at.
Love it.
But in terms of to share, like, I guess as a little intro, I don't know if I've ever mentioned it about me, but a big part of my sort of dad parenting journey is I actually lost my dad when I was young, when I was 12.
No, I didn't know that.
And and it was very sudden. It was like literally here one day, gone the next. He had an aneurysm.
Oh no, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, thanks. And but it was crazy. It's like, it's one of those things where, when people have health conditions, you sort of have a certain opportunity to sort of know it's coming and impending and
Right.
to deal with it or to say your goodbyes or whatnot.
Make peace.
Yeah. But this was literally like unexpected, out of nowhere. And as a kid, you go from like your usual daily life to like, oh, I don't have a dad anymore. Like
Yeah.
from when it happened, it was a Sunday.
Yeah.
And finally, because I grew up in sort of like going to church and all of that. So it was a Sunday. He was helping open up like the gates for the premises and all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And he said he had a headache. And one of the things I'll probably dig into over time is the different experiences I sort of faced, as a kid, the traumas, I guess, if you will,
Yeah.
from that experience. But from my dad, we were always like, he always over dramatized stuff.
Yes.
So we're like, oh, he's got a headache. Yeah, it's just another one of dad's
All right.
moments. So we actually like brushed it off, which I'll forever feel a bit bad for.
Right.
Going like, yeah, like he always thinks he's going to die.
Yeah. Yeah.
And ironically, his aneurysm was something in his, brain exploded, so he was dying.
Oh my gosh.
But between that time, he was in hospital. It was like a day or two, and then I remember they told us like, these are the options,
Yeah.
and
How old was he?
the decision. Yeah, and so it was lights out. He was like just early 50s.
Yeah.
So interestingly, they had said, like, considering like that sort of thing sometimes happens a lot to people a bit younger.
Yeah.
But I think he kept himself in pretty good health.
Yep.
Like one of the things he liked to do a lot was go out and walk and be in nature and stuff,
Yeah.
which I think very much for me is something I found coming full circle of why I'm also drawn to the bush and being out in nature,
Yep.
is seeing a bit of his connection. But I think something I posted on in one of my videos with my kids is like, I actually don't remember doing much walks with him myself. So, I sort of feel that loss, which is what I'm trying to impart
Yep.
with my kids now doing that.
Yeah.
But
It's kind of crazy to me because that's like I just turned 50 and I'm essentially at his place, and with Rose who's 5. And how old were you when it happened?
yeah, I was 12.
Yeah.
So,
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like a pretty weird time as a kid. And so that's why this is the interesting thing. As a 12-year-old, and finally, as I've sort of pointed to, my relationship experience with my dad wasn't always the best. He was sort of a fiery, angry guy that would just come out of nowhere. Like, he was a good dad otherwise, but he
Yep.
was that very typical and Asian strict dad, not much emotion, all of that stuff.
Yep.
So when he died, when that happened, I was very much like, oh, this is a relief. This is kind of actually
Yeah.
great, because now I don't
Wow.
have anyone scolding me on my case.
Right.
And there's a whole bunch of things, you know, I have thoughts around that. But yeah, very much through my years growing up as a young kid, teenager, young adult, like, I actually felt fine because of that.
Yeah.
But I think just before becoming a parent and very much becoming a parent, like, now I felt the loss of my dad.
Right.
And I think it's more so the loss of some of it resolved, but some of it, like, wondering what would it be like to have a relationship with him now at this age.
Right.
And then a big part of it as well is just more the loss of, like, a father figure.
Right.
I think as men, you know, even as old as we get, I think we look to other men ahead of us doing life and succeeding in it, and, like, looking for guidance and wisdom and things
Right.
like that. So which is very much why part of this chat is for me to, like, meet other dads, either who are ahead of me or maybe a bit earlier in their journey than me, that I can pass stuff on. But
Yeah.
in a whole way, we can, you know, have this sort of constant circle where it's always giving and receiving and that sort of thing.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's something that people talk about, but you don't really see it as much, really, with, like, dads, you know. There's, like, one piece of information they pass on, or, like, two pieces of information, or maybe they pass on some money or something. But I feel like, at least with my dad also, like, he hasn't really passed on much advice, you know. Like, I remember reaching out to him a few times and just being like, Dad, like, what do you think about this situation? And he's kind of like, it is what it is, you know, like, sort of thing. And you're like, okay, I don't know that that's gonna really.
These old mantras.
Yeah. Where, like,
And that's the thing, I think for us now as a new generation of parents and dads, it's like we're more involved and we're sort of wanting to participate in that
Right.
experience of raising our kids, and that it's not just a mum thing. Like, I've seen a lot of the great things mums do instinctually, because that's just the way it is through growing them and birthing them. But I think literally, you know, once the kids are like 3-4 years old, and as it goes, they're sort of looking to us for different bits, you know, different
Yeah.
insights,
yeah,
different ways to sort of get out of that sort of more masculine, you
right.
know, father role.
Yeah, like the strong, silent, stoic. That's how you need to go through the world. Like, you can actually communicate with people, and you can learn from people, and that's something you should do, and it's okay to do. It's not just about, like, figuring out everything on your own and, like, being super independent and all that stuff. I mean, that's the, like, I know that I look for that from my parents, and maybe didn't get it as much, but still wanted that to happen on some level.
Totally. I guess, I don't know where you would want to go in terms of, like, either like sharing as it relates to your experience from your dad, or more how you've sort of found parenting. So tell me a little bit about, like, you've got one daughter, like, how, you know, is she, and how's
Yep.
that been like?
I have Rose, and she's 5. She's about to start school, and we went and did the school uniform try on the other day, and she was, like, so excited.
Yeah.
So it's really great to see that. And you know, she's my only child, and I think in general, like, after having her, it was like I didn't feel like I had the capacity to take on another. So
Every human is a lot too.
yeah, and also, you know, because a lot of my background, like, I didn't have, like, my parents also come from, like, kind of a trauma situation, and, like, they didn't have great parenting
Yep.
taught to them.
Yep.
And so, of course, they were not able to teach me good parenting. So
Yeah.
everything that I've learned has been through reading or engaging,
Yeah.
like, with other people or something like that. So it's been a long journey of, like,
Yeah. Why do you think we as dads and parents have this shift of like we want to do it differently. I wonder why it feels so apparent that it's like, yeah, we could just repeat and do the same thing,
Yeah.
but there's a different awareness, consciousness of how we're like, actually that really sucked.
Yeah.
How could we make this a much better experience in childhood for our kids?
Yeah. I mean, maybe I could point to the traumatic events that happened,
Yeah.
and maybe the loss,
Yeah.
and maybe the sort of absence of something, but also knowing that something could be there. And I feel like that's what I feel. I feel like I've always looked to my dad and my parents in general as someone who could offer something, and I wanted it, but just to not receive it, I think is there forms that absence, and then you understand that you can fill it, like you or I with our kids can fill that absence. We can be a source of comfort, a source of information, safety, learning, living advice, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And you know how helpful it would be because you've been through it.
I know. I mean, still lots of failures. Like I have many moments where I still get triggered and blow up in all sorts of things. But I think the difference is like I take it on board to be like, firstly, I do my best to say sorry and apologize through what has happened and things like that.
Yep.
Which I think is a massive step.
Yeah.
Because I had like zero apologies from my dad as a kid.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's a huge thing. Also, it's like because I feel like maybe our trajectories are similar in that way. Like, dad doesn't apologize. Like, dad is always right. Like, parents in general are always right. Like,
Yeah.
I've got no real voice. Giving the effort for us to give our children a voice at such a young age, almost from the very beginning, and is quite a different thing. And we have no idea how to give a child a voice, so we're just figuring it out.
I think the apology to our kids is a very empowering thing for them and for us. I think that in itself shifts the dynamic massively.
Of course. Because I think it's also liberating because it says I don't have to know everything.
Yeah.
I don't have to be right. I don't have to be perfect. I don't have to be everything all at once for you, and then inevitably fail and then have to be cold and removed because I've just failed and I can't admit it and all of that.
And actually, one of the most touching things in those heated moments is sometimes it takes a bit longer for things to settle down. But when my son has come up to me and apologized on his own and sort of recognized how his part in it sort of affected or played things, and and then you sort of really see and realize you're like, wow, these are their own consciousness, living their life, doing their thing. And I think that really reminds me and shows me like we're just doing our best to guide them, but a lot of it is out of our hands as well.
Yeah, I feel like that guide, like walk along beside instead of in front of, has always been something that resonates with me, and even with some of the other parents, I think maybe don't see as much of their child's world, and then step into it and want to go into it, and it becomes more about the adult or the parent's world. It's like the restaurant thing. Like, the idea that a child is going to behave at a restaurant is like, I don't know whose child is doing that, but it's like almost impossible.
The more you force something, the more things blow up.
Yeah, it just, and then and then it's just totally forced all the way through. Like they just have to become submissive. Like they're out of their world, they're in your world, they're in the restaurant world. They're not experiencing the feelings and everything that they could experience.
That's the thing. I remember a lot as a kid, a lot of what I based when I was around my dad, it was on fear. It was like fear of when's the next time he's gonna get upset about something. So how do I behave and do the right thing so that it pleases him or it keeps everything, as calm as possible. But the thing with him, it was so unpredictable. It could have been anything. I could have coughed the wrong way. I've at times just tripped over by accident playing something, and that was enough to like piss him off with something. So,
Right.
you know, it was really, you know, at the time I didn't know, and I just always felt it was my fault. But as I've looked back on it, I was like, you know, I really shouldn't be blaming myself, but as kids you don't realize.
You
And
have
I
to.
think that's what we're saying for what we're trying to do with our kids now, is to give them a sense of independence where they can express their thoughts and feelings, where it's not from a place of fear and it's more from love and security, or just them expressing their identity, their character,
Yeah.
personality.
Yeah. And I mean, it just lifts a weight off of our shoulders because we're not, like, we're fallible. We're not perfect, you know, like,
100%.
we're like, and we get to be that. And I don't know where this sort of idea came in, where the parent or the dad had to be perfect, had to be like strong in the face of everything, had to be like,
Yeah.
you know, and that's sort of what I learned from my dad, was that was how you had to be, and just suffer through it and all this sort of stuff, you know, and
I think there's the perfect dad and the perfect parent sounds great and it sells well.
Yeah.
And it's a great thing for society to be like, oh, like, you know, in the sort of, I guess, patriarchal system as well. It's like, yeah, dads are always right.
yeah,
But yeah, very much.
yeah,
We have a long way to go and a lot to learn.
yeah. 2 men walking across the country.
If I could do this as 2 dads walking across the country, like Forrest Gump style,
Yep.
I'd be a happy man.
Yeah.
You know?
Just meet people dads along the way, and they join.
Yeah.
Another one like disappears.
Yeah.
That would be so good.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you jump in if there's stuff you feel more compelled to share, as opposed to what I'm, I guess, asking as well. Maybe like to jump in a little bit. I mean, I know we barely scratched anything about your parenting style and Rose and her experience, but I was going to jump in for a sec. If you could share, just because I guess I'm wanting to involve dads, like I said, who are creatives or entrepreneurs in some way. If you could just share on that path what you do in that sense, whether it be work or just, you know, your own sort of artistry, creativity, and I guess a little bit about how you approached that or did it up until the point of becoming a parent, and then how the whole thing, I'm sure, completely turned on its head once you became a parent, because of like time and energy, and I don't know, it goes on, right? Like the choices of like how you prioritize doing things.
Yeah. I mean, I think the journey as a creative is slightly possibly easier, just because maybe you're a little bit more in touch with like creativity, which kids like gravitate towards. So the things that I like doing, drawing, you know, like making things, all of that is part of the, you know, what kids love to do. So that kind of is very seamless in that way, and feels great as compared to, you know, someone who works on spreadsheets or something like that. Kids, I don't think kids are into spreadsheets that much.
Not really. I've tried with my son to do like a checklist over term 3, and it only lasted a few weeks, and we haven't continued it. So
pictures. You got to put pictures next to the checklist or something.
But maybe describe for me like your, you know, creative role prior to kids. Obviously, that's probably still continued on, but like how that's looked like then, and I guess now.
Yeah. So I guess prior to kids, I was like in an advertising agency. I was an executive design director at this place called Droga 5 in New York. And, you know, it's like insane hours. It's managing a bunch of people, you know, it's like managing a bunch of people and like doing pitches all the time and not really having a life outside of work. And sort
New York's the place to do it, though.
It is the place to do it. Although I don't even know what it's like at this point. Apparently it's changed quite a bit. But this, you know, it was a great experience because you're like sort of fully enmeshed in creativity and working and making and, you know, ad campaigns and like talking to other people, you know, working with photographers, working with directors and making stuff. But it's so intense, like you can't Like I was sleep deprived the whole time.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's a different way to do that, although within advertising, I don't think that it's going to be that successful. And then after that happened, you know, Beck, my wife, and I met, and I was still kind of in that world when we met.
You met in New York?
We met in New York.
She was traveling?
She was living there. She had come from London and was living there. And basically, like, you know, got together and then eventually decided to have a child. And by that time, I'd kind of already decided to start my own thing, which was like very fortuitous in terms of dadding.
That is true. Yes.
It's like
flexibility.
You know, like already had a little bit of a network in place, so I could do that. But you know, after Rose, and then when Rose was one, we moved to Byron, and that's where
we met.
Yep. And at that time, I didn't like Beck and I formed a business together, and we were just working a lot with the U.S. and like kind of freelancing a little bit and like getting our own clients. But the beauty was like one of us was always able to be with the kid, and that was something I didn't even realize that I wanted until I had it.
Yes. The time is precious.
Yeah, it's so precious. And especially when you're in a place like Byron, you're like on the beach and like building sandcastles with your kid, and you're like, this is ideal.
It's very, as to Byron, it's very, very family oriented.
Right.
My experience.
Yeah. Everywhere you go, kids are usually pretty much welcome, and like it's like a multi-generational vibe. You know, and that like, you know, coming from New York before that, it was just like I'd started to slow down a little bit and say like work isn't life, you know, and like how can I have a life outside of what's happening at work? And you know, getting into meditation and like sort of slowing down in that way, and like not being so. I mean, obviously, since going through like therapy and all of that, I've gotten to the point where I'm like, I understand my work was based on like fear and like, you know, needing to like prove something and like show my value through how much money I made and my title.
But this is the thing. I think as most guys in their early 20s to 30s, like that is the key thing we're fed. Like how to be successful is through making lots of money.
Right.
You know, you're dating or your relationships, who you're surrounded by, and all those fanciful things. And then I think having a kid puts into perspective your values of some of those things are all fine, but I think you sort of realize there are a lot of things like that that are frivolous, and you know, you don't have that same fulfillment out of it.
Yeah, it definitely, and I think like it's just hard to overlook the sort of the disappointment with your child has when you're not there.
That is true.
And like, you know, just even the daycare drop-offs, like they, you know, they're attached. If they are attached, they're crying, they're sad. You know, every day you leave, you know, it's like they're going to be feeling bad that you're missing if you're attached to them. And you know, and I think about these sort of like commercials that have been made or ads that have been made about like the dad who goes off to work and is like doing, you know,
make the heroic thing.
Yeah, make it heroic. And I think actually it's kind of like, maybe in my opinion, the opposite. Like I think it's heroic to
be around,
to be around. Yeah. But it's really hard.
For sure, because I think instinctually, as men, we want to be providers, and we want to be the ones to feel like, especially from a finance point of view, we're the ones making the most money and like contributing to the family dynamic in that way. I was saying to my wife the other day, I think as guys, it's easier to be, if you work and make the money and I guess the most money, it's easy for you to say, hey, I've done this part, I've done my Monday, Friday working, now on the weekend I can have my beers and watch sport and kind of almost switch off and not care about the other things. But then as a parent, it's 24/7.
Yeah.
So I think it doesn't matter how much money you make or what success you have in your career and things. Like you got to show up for them.
Yeah. And it's also just like I can't remember who it was. If it was like a Graham Doss or like something like that, it was like, wherever you put your energy, that's sort of where your energy goes, like the putting all your energy into work leaves no energy for kid, and vice versa. Like obviously if you put all your energy into your kid, you're going to be in a bad situation with work. So finding that balance, but always sort of erring on more energy towards the kid has been my approach.
In the bit that got a bit exposed because I couldn't help talking, and the phone overheated.
Hottest day of the year so far.
We're in like 30-something degree weather, but thankfully this is keeping us cool. So hopefully the phone survives our return trip.
Yeah.
But I don't know. We could try pick up what we were talking about, or maybe I don't know. We'll see if we move on. But I think maybe I'd love to hear a little more of like. I think because as guys, again, working is such a big part of our identity.
Yep.
Like our career, and we place literally, I would say, like the lifetime spent in trying to make it and be at the top or whatever, accomplish some big goal. And I think for some people they have a more linear-ish path where it's like they can tick those things off. In my experience, it hasn't been the case. I've been like this mountain circling around, up and down, weaving.
Yep.
And nothing's been a straight trajectory. So it's been trickier to sort of, I guess, gauge my successes at times. But that's why I think in parenting, I look at my boys and I'm like, wow, I feel that success of fulfillment in just seeing them as people. It's not that they need to perform, but it's seeing that they feel trusted to express certain things, or that the way they, engage in the world. That's what makes me proud of being their dad.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's like because the metrics are so easy, the measurement is so easy with dollars and cents and like titles and like time and, time spent at a job and like accolades and awards. But like the metrics that exist for raising a child, like it's like, like cheesy, but like in their eyes and like in their attitude and in who they are as a person.
Yeah.
Which, there's nobody like passing out medals or like having an award ceremony for your kid being
and it's a
healthy
day-to-day thing. Like I could have taken my son on the best day previously, like done all the things he wanted, and he got the ice cream and the games or like the adventures.
Yep.
But then the next day, like I could stumble and mess something up, and he would just call me out on that.
Yeah.
It's like it doesn't really matter that I did everything right before. It's like he's the judge in the present moment. I think like in that time, that's just the thing that counts for him. Yeah.
Well, I think that's a huge. I mean, I love that because, like, I think that when you first said letting your child be the judge, like it felt a little like awkward or wrong for me, because that sounds like, oh, I should not be the judge. Like I should be the judge. But I think that after thinking about it for a second, it kind of feels good because it's like if they are a judge of what's working for them, like, and then they are feeling good about what you're doing, whether it's time, ice cream or whatever it is. Like, I think that that's something that maybe, who's kind of like, who's the judge?
Yeah.
Like, is it your boss or your kid?
But I think that's why, like, for me, when I say to judge, I think it's more for them to just gauge and make decisions, because again, I see as they're getting older, a big part of a parent is setting them up to be out in the world. And we won't always be there. So it's like they do need to like make decisions and judge things and sort of like analyze what is important to them. Otherwise, they're just gonna sort of follow suit to what they've been told to do.
Right, exactly. And I feel like if we want our kids to have that independence, if we want them to be able to take a path, you know, not traveled,
Yeah.
and especially at this point in time with like AI, with the world changing so fast, with like everything,
Yeah.
I wouldn't even know what path they should take. Like, how do we even say
But that's
that?
it. And I think that's the important thing. We don't know what path they'll take, but if we set them up foundationally grounded,
Yep.
they will just figure it out in time. And, you know, for us to feel comfort and to trust that process of that.
Right.
And that's the best we can do,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But back to, like, I guess where you're at now, parenting, and in terms of like work and that balance and mix.
Yep.
Like, I don't know, how do you feel with that? Are you like satisfied with that? Are you sort of wanting to change something in that? What's been the shift?
It's interesting because I've thought about this a lot recently, mainly because I'm kind of at a crossroads.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll tell you the sort of
Yes.
both sides. On one side, like, you know, LinkedIn is like the worst thing
yeah.
because I'm like, I look on there and I see people who, you know, I used to be managing them, and now
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
like,
yeah.
their careers have gone on and they're doing amazing things, and I, you know, I feel like, especially when I was in Byron, I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
God, I'm in
The comparison
remote,
game.
the hinterland, and like they're doing all this amazing stuff, they're winning awards, they're getting, you know, all these great jobs and stuff, and so there's that always happens.
Yes.
But then on the other side is what I don't, it, you know, just kind of randomly happened because of COVID. Like, I don't know that we ever would have moved to Byron.
Yeah. That
Without-
circumstance led you there.
Yeah, and reflecting on it now that we've just moved to Sydney,
Yes.
it's like it was like so perfect to have that time
Yeah.
to allow the world to keep happening,
Yeah.
the job world and all that stuff, but still take a I don't want to call it a pause, but like basically find the time and the
Yeah.
space to keep making a living, but also
Yeah.
be
Yeah,
okay
yeah.
with.
The pause is actually in many ways right. I just read a book called The Power Pause,
Yep.
written by a mum for motherhood, but I think, well, my wife read it, but it applies to parents as a whole. But yeah, so
Yeah.
you know, I think a pause in terms of like taking time out to do what's important for you in
Yep.
you know this chapter as a parent.
Yeah, and of course it's, you know, it goes without saying that it's an absolute like luxury and a privilege to be able to take that. You know, there's whatever, like single parents out there might not have the opportunity to
Yeah.
do that, and
But I
that's
think
a
the
whole other
luxury
challenge.
is, yeah, and it is. But I think it's like, again, for me, I think the benefit of that is if we can set our kids up in the best way possible, like that ripple effect will,
Yeah.
you know, really help in society and, you know, their sphere and the broader community. So I think it's worth,
Yep.
you know, the luxury of it. But I think it's for something that, for me anyways, I believe in has like a, you know, a high impact.
Yeah. Well, also, you know, just in the systems that exist, like I know that Australia allows a certain amount of like paternity leave.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the US doesn't allow really even maternity leave. You know, it's like
That's nuts. Yeah.
there's like no paternity even considered. And just within that society, like the value the dad, like that just automatically assigns a value a dad has in that first few weeks, first few months for the mom and for the, you know,
Yeah.
or the other dad or whoever's, you know, the two parents are. And I think that's like, I think that maybe that is a larger systemic effect that could come from more growth happening through men,
For sure. Yeah.
dads, understanding that maybe we do need to fight for
To shift. Yeah.
paternity leave. Maybe we do need to
Yeah.
say there's a lot of value in that.
I think our involvement makes a big difference as well. But so on the crossroad, you were saying?
Yeah. Sorry.
No, the tangents is part of it.
Yeah. So now it's like basically Rose has reached an age where she's starting school.
Yeah.
I can re-engage in
Yes.
the workforce.
Yeah. 5 years goes by like that.
It goes like so fast. But I don't know. I'm sort of trying to figure out how.
The house, yeah.
Yeah.
Those guys were very like practical, like, what's our 1, 2, steps 1, 2, 3
Yeah,
to
yeah.
like get
Yeah.
this happening.
Yeah. Like, is it go like fully re-engage in that?
All right, so I don't know how many times this thing's overheated, but at least we're sitting in the shade, and
Yeah.
we'll probably at least end on this note. But I was like, I brought some tasty treats, some pastries from our local favorite. So
Oh my God,
enjoy
yes.
this plain croissant. It's from Goodwood.
Love
I
it.
got myself a choc.
Yes.
Very, very tasty.
Oh my God. This is the real deal.
Yes. But so we're just saying before I hit record, I was like, oh, how are you on for time? And you're like, oh, like I was like, anyone needing you or whatever, and you're like, oh, I wish there was like a drama or something to happen, so you sort of had to go attend to something. And my thought to that was like, I think again as guys we're so used to feeling useful by like being required to solve something, to fix something, to repair something.
Yep.
The kind of sort of streamlined step of again, that's how we can apply ourselves. Like, what's your thought on how you juggle that?
Totally. I mean, well, it's like, I feel like you can almost probably set a timer with most guys that are like, when do I start to feel like a little bit antsy about?
Get itchy, yeah.
Like how long has it been? And yeah, I mean, for me, it's probably at the moment, it's like, it's under a few hours. Like I think it's like 2 hours max. And I'm like, if I'm not sort of feeling useful and doing something and engaging on that level, I'm doing something wrong.
Is that fixing something like work related, kid, family, relationship, your to-dos?
Right now, it's really work related.
Yeah.
Like I've got a very long list of things that I should be doing, that are all in the service of just like, I don't know, trying to like move things along faster than they are already.
Yeah. I mean, see, I think that's the thing. The good and the bad thing for me is I've been very involved with my kids over this time. So my boys being 7 and 2, with Asker my first, I've been around him the first 5 years as well. I was like around like the whole time, and I think part of it, like, it's been a great thing, and again, really appreciate that. But it's also, I've looked on some of it to critique as like a bit of overcompensating on, my own needs, and sort of like, I think because I haven't had as much work in the traditional profession I've done in like film and video production, I've like, I'm around, like, what is my itch, what can I do? And a lot of it to me has been like, okay, I really need to like better like drop him off like every single day and take him to like this and that, and like, if it's not that, we're going to the playground. If it's not that, like, what activity am I trying to do with him? And I've learned sometimes it's like, which I enjoy as well, it's like the doing of nothing is like great, and to create that space. And something we're trying to like teach him a lot, which I get with this generation, is like boredom is a good thing. Like, he just doesn't know how to deal with boredom at all.
No.
But I think, look, so I think again in that way, my itch of like being a parent is like, I now want to like at least channel that in a way where it's like connecting with dad, so I can share the resource of that. So hopefully it's slightly better.
Yeah,
We'll
definitely. I mean, even when you were talking about the boredom aspect with kids, I was like, what steps do I need to take to like already planning out how to teach how to deal with boredom to my kid, which is just like, it's so crazy that that's like the first thing that just comes into my head. It's like how to prepare them for this thing, how to like make sure that they can do this thing, even if it's boredom, like it should be something that's, so I agree with the overcompensation. I agree with the like feeling that need to do something.
Trying to fill a gap
Yeah.
by virtue of, just picking something else to.
Yeah. And I don't know, I guess it's a good question to ask whether like, I guess it becomes more about us as individuals and less about the kid. That's when it sort of crosses into a bad zone, versus overcompensating that maybe feels like overcompensating for us, but maybe is actually like a good level of engagement for the child, could be.
They'll let us know, I think. As
Yeah,
well. You
yeah.
want to see through their feedback whether
Yeah,
they're enjoying it or not.
yeah, yeah. So far, and that's, just that, even that feedback. I think the feedback I've gotten from Rose so far has been more connection, more time, more engagement, and that's where the level that she wants. And I guess I have to do my best to try to like meet her at that place, which
Yeah.
for me is hard.
For sure. Because you want to like have time for yourself or other
Yeah.
things your brain's ticking over. But I think
Yeah.
I've heard as well before, it's like you can't. I don't know the term like spoiling your kids. I guess in some things there is that, but you can't spoil them in giving them too much of your time or your attention
Yep.
in terms of like when you're focused on wanting to be there and stay present with them and like the experience of it. I think like creating that memory.
Yeah.
I think that's a beautiful a little worm, like a beautiful thing. Yeah, you can't
Yep.
do too much of it.
No, and I think that's the. I guess it's also the intention of like, am I, like if I am engaging in this for me, maybe a little bit and overcompensating, but still being present, still being there. Like maybe that's accepting that like lack of perfection of like how we're showing up, but trying our best. And I think the spirit, like the kid always can feel that sort of spirit of like, this is my dad trying, like not getting it right, obviously all the time, but like, and I think that's, maybe that's even the most important is like they care enough to try, to make mistakes, to do all that stuff. And, just being present and having that experience with them where we're trying to like, form that relationship
Yeah.
is what you have. I mean, if you want a good relationship, I feel like that's what you got to do.
Well, and as you're saying, forming that relationship, I think as well, it's more so crucial doing it from, when they're born up until 5, 6, 7, this crucial point where they want us to be involved and around.
Yeah.
Like with my boy at 7, he's 8 next year, it's like, I can see more and more he's like doing stuff with his friends, he has his other hobbies and interests.
Yep.
Like he kind of, there's times he's like, hey dad, go away. Like he actually has this thing where he says, get out. And like, he's been recording on his drum pad and he hits it and it's like, it says get out in different ways and then he farts and stuff. That's a whole other thing. But I think like you're saying, to set that foundation of relationship, it does actually in the order of parenting, that has to come first and early.
Yeah.
Because I think if we miss that window, like it's kind of, the ship sailed and like, if you spend too much time working and then suddenly you've got like a 12 or 15-year-old or something like that,
Yep.
and then you just want to suddenly like be their best buddy, I don't think
Right.
it's going to work the same way and like have that level of trust and communication than when you set it up.
Totally. Totally. I really, that's one thing I have realized is that this time from 0 to 5 or wherever I am right now, almost, it's 5.5, it's so crucial. And I didn't realize that going in to it. I think I'd read books and like things like that say that it's important, but I now can see the foundation that's been laid with Rose, and I know that unless I transgress or some sort of like violate the relationship, we have a good foundation.
Yeah.
And it's been set. And it took a lot of work and all that, but like we can build on that and we can evolve. I think it, probably the challenge I have will be like not getting stuck in this, not getting stuck in being needed, wanted.
Especially as a dad to a daughter, it's like, that's a whole other realm I don't quite understand. I think as a dad to sons, I can see it's much easier. Like, all right, go off into the world and do your thing.
Yeah.
I feel like there's probably a level of like protection and a certain sort of way of feeling or default. You're like, it's probably harder to let go.
Yeah. And I mean, in many ways, it's a relationship. It's, you know, we'll get like psychological,
Yeah.
like it's the kind of relationship that I've always wanted.
Great.
Like that's the kind of relationship that I wanted with parents, you know, with partner, with everyone. It's like it's open, it's accepting, it's vulnerable, it's honest. It's all those things that, you know, if I'm being annoying, I'm told that I'm annoying. If I'm being loved, I'm told that I'm loved, and I'm vice versa, same thing, right? Like
It's clear cut.
yeah, and we have that, and I think that that's something that's like the value of that can never be ever stated, especially if it's something that you've always wanted, which I have.
So maybe we'll wrap this up in the sense of we're enjoying some pastries, we're sweating our butts off, thankfully in the shade. Maybe just to end off, like, what's something you think of through what you do as a creative? Like, how are you imparting that with Rose? Like, what are you hopeful of, like, trying to see that sort of, you know, I guess she won't ever be like exactly like you, but definitely they are mirror image in a lot of ways, and they soak in those things. So what would something like that be for you? Because as an example for me with Asko, I think like as a creative, like I've been thinking a lot about how to express yourself, like just really honestly, and like I've seen him, for example, like we got him instruments early on, and like he had this keyboard, like he had from like 2.5, and we always just let him like bash around and play anything on it, and like slowly he's made up his own tunes. And then just recently though, like he started figuring out like a song to play from a pop artist from like Harry Styles, and then I was like, oh okay, like maybe now's the time I'll like find a YouTube tutorial and he can like learn the song. But even that, like I tried to make it enjoyable. We could just break it down and not just put too much pressure on it.
Yep.
But I still tried to encourage him, like, here's a goal, like don't give up. Like sometimes he'll just like learn a few notes and then he'll be like, I'm done.
Yeah.
So I was like, hey, like, you know, like it's pretty much like 4 chords, and like once he got that, it's like he's now playing the whole song, you know, just repeating through it. So I think for me, it's like these few different things of like having the space to do it, but then giving him a bit of like grounding and encouragement to push him along in it, but just like, yeah, enjoying that process of like how he can gravitate towards something, and like that I'm really enjoying.
Yeah. I think I mean, this is very fortuitous because I like just yesterday, Rose said something that made me think about this exact thing. And it's very similar in the expression idea. She was saying, you know, she was doing a little kind of drawing thing, and she's like, Dad, I'm making art.
Sweet.
Yeah. And I'm like, that's right. Like it's, you know, and just processing it in my head, I'm like, yeah, you're expressing whatever is coming out.
Through.
Yeah. And I think that's the, you know, I just got like a little feeling of goosebumps just talking about it, and you're like, because that's just such a, like, you know, life, like the artfulness of art is expression. Like, you know, everybody through art has something to say. Maybe what you're saying is a little bit more sort of pastiche, or, you know, maybe it's a little bit more meaningful if you've kind of gone plumbed the depths of everything. And
Yeah, the journey of,
yeah, and I think that's what it is. You know, it's like giving, like, for her to be able to express herself through whatever medium she feels is right at the moment. And, you know, just seeing her like sitting down and like kind of engaging that way, in the same way that, like, you know, Asko's like sitting down and like showing interest in this thing, and like, you know, step by step, and they kind of just like get that. There's such a beauty in, like, that's like the big win, is like when they're living an artful life, they're living a life as expression, and they're comfortable with that, and it's coming from inside, from them, and it you know, that's their resource. It's not necessarily having to like pull from whatever anybody else is doing and respond to it. Could be that, but also just like helping to understand that there's like a spring in there that when it comes out is incredible.
Sweet. No, so yeah, a lot of it is we'll see what comes next with them. Really, I think
Oh.
it's part of it. So cool. Well, thank you, Rob.
Yeah.
Appreciate getting
Thanks
to
for
chat.
having me.